What's up, Taiwan? I'm Erika Liu with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Vice President Bi Khim-hsiao is back from Brussels, where she addressed the European Parliament. And now former President Tsai Ing-wen is headed to Berlin to speak at a conference on freedom. Some observers see all this as part of a growing Taiwanese engagement with the EU as the bloc grows disillusioned with China. John Van Trieste reports.
Vice President Bi Khim-hsiao is back from a high-profile trip to Europe. There, she spoke at a summit of the Interparliamentary Alliance on China, or IPAC, a forum of lawmakers concerned about China's threats to human rights and the rules-based global order. The location of the meeting, inside the European Parliament, has special significance. No EU member recognizes Taiwan. And so, Xiao's address in the European Parliament marks the first time any ranking Taiwanese statesperson has been able to speak in a European legislature. Xiao's message was one of working towards democracy's future.
We don't just want to survive, we want democracies to thrive. We're not just defending what we have, but building what we want the future to look like.
On arrival home, she said Taiwan deserves its place in the global order.
台湾人民跟世界公民一样，都该有参与国际社会的机会。更因为有全体国人的努力与坚持，让我们在不曾停止的艰困与挑战当中，也要一步一步开创我们的道路。
The U.S. has welcomed Xiao's speech, with the State Department saying it backs Taiwan's meaningful inclusion in international organizations. But China, which claims Taiwan and seeks to keep it diplomatically isolated, is not happy. Its EU Commission responded by saying that Beijing strongly opposes Xiao's speech. President Lai Ching-te has thanked IPAC for inviting Xiao to showcase Taiwan's values and convictions. But the vice president isn't the only political figure from Taiwan engaging with Europe. Former President Tsai Ing-wen is headed to Berlin, where she'll address this year's Berlin Freedom Conference on Monday. Some analysts say recent engagement with Europe, topped with Xiao's speech at the European Parliament, is not a coincidence.
当他们对中国不再有幻想的时候，那当然他们会用非常实际的方式来处理跟中国的关系。那这些东西都是开启了我们跟欧洲关系的一个机会。
This may have its limits. The Vatican is still the only European state to maintain full diplomatic ties with Taiwan. But some analysts see signs of shifting European attitudes towards Beijing that Taiwan can benefit from if it takes the chance. Devin Tsai and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Chinese state media aired a report on Sunday suggesting Taiwanese lawmaker Puma Shen could face a wanted notice and even a global arrest warrant through Interpol. Beijing announced back in October that it was investigating Shen for alleged separatism. Shen is the founder of Puma Academy, a Taiwanese civil defense organization that trains civilians to protect the country in the event of a Chinese invasion. He says he's not concerned about Beijing's growing pressure on him.
但我要警告这个中国很可惜的是，不管是我还是台湾人，我们都是没有在害怕的。
Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council, which handles relations with China, has condemned what it calls Beijing's attempt to intimidate lawmakers and the public through repression that extends beyond its own borders. Taiwan's Coast Guard has been closely monitoring a Mongolian-Flagged ship as it passed nearby waters. The ship, called the Romantic, drew attention online after coming close to undersea cables off Taiwan's west coast, sparking speculation it might try to sabotage the network. The Coast Guard says the vessel has now moved away and poses no threat. In recent years, Taiwan's submarine cables have faced several disruptions, which Taipei blames on Beijing. Analysts say targeting these cables may be part of China's gray zone tactics, aimed at straining Taiwan's defense resources. Typhoon Wong is headed towards the Philippines and Taiwan in the coming days. In the Philippines, still recovering from a string of deadly storms, people are already bracing for what will be the country's 21st typhoon of the year. John Van Trieste reports.
Families rearrange the pews at this church in Sorsogon, the Philippines, not for mass, but for shelter as a violent storm approaches. It's been just days since Typhoon Kalmegi smashed through the central belt of the Philippines into Vietnam, with a confirmed death toll of around 200 people in the Philippines alone. Now, Typhoon Fung is starting to kick up ominous wind and surf off the north of the Philippines. After seeing what Kalmegi did, people in places like this church aren't taking any chances. They hope the building will hold up to the storm's fury, with wind gusts hitting 170 kilometers per hour.
We have evacuated to this church because of the upcoming storm. We decided to evacuate because the recent typhoon brought floods in our area, and now I just want to keep my family safe. We evacuated here so we'll be ready when the typhoon comes.
I'm here because the waves near my house are huge. I live near the shore. The winds there are now very strong and the waves are massive.
Forecasts have the typhoon crossing the island of Luzon Monday, but Philippine government meteorologists say it could affect almost the whole country, including areas still in shock from Typhoon Kalmegi. The search for the missing is called off for now, as people prepare as best they can for the coming storm. Fung will be the 21st storm to hit the Philippines this typhoon season, but the destruction probably won't stop there. After the Philippines, the storm is expected to curve northward, passing directly over Taiwan from Thursday to Friday. Officials in Taiwan are keeping an eye on the eastern mountains, where a typhoon in late September burst a barrier lake, sending deadly floodwaters sweeping through Guangfu Township. Scientists are paying attention to the violence of this year's typhoon season, and warning a changing climate could only make extreme events like these storms more common, including in areas not used to storms.
And another aspect that perhaps is a bit less talked about is there is an increase in rapid intensification events of these typhoons that are rather difficult to predict by current models. And because of that, they are particularly dangerous.
But back at this church, evacuees are hunkering down for what, by around nightfall Sunday, could be yet another blow in a year filled with destruction. Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is set to ban captive animal shows, becoming one of the few countries taking steps to protect animals from both physical and psychological harm. But what about the dolphins already living in captivity? To find out whether they can be safely returned to the wild, our reporter Sandy Chi sat down with Ling Dongliang, CEO of the Kuroshio Ocean Education Foundation, in this episode of Zoom In, Zoom Out.
So in the future, there won't be any dolphin performances. And we're just wondering, where will the dolphins go? Can they return to the wild, or will they stay here in the ocean parks?
这真的就是一个最艰难的课题，因为当我们要选择结束表演这件事情，它感觉好像只是一刀两断的结果，但是对于这些动物来讲，它的生命是持续延续下去的，所以对它的照顾来讲，其实就是很大的挑战。那通常我们在看待这件事情的时候，动物接下来会该如何是好呢？很多人的自然的思考就会说，是不是有机会野放，把它们再放回到大海去啊？那本能应该是可以帮助它们能够再次的回到大海。但是其实我们在过往的一些科学的案例中，就是会知道它需要做评估。那最基本的评估就要评估，第一个就是它的生命年龄，它从出生到现在它已经大概几岁了。那这个年龄有很大的关系，就是比如说人类的年长的长辈，在对于长途的跋涉移动的需求下，他可能体力上或者是精神上，他可能没有办法那么好的维持下去。那这就是一个大的挑战。那再来另外一个条件就是说，它被圈养的时间长跟短。对，如果它圈养的时间已经很长，可能10年、20年，那这个相较起来的话，它可能已经形成了一种惯性。那这种惯性就是它可能失去了一些能力包括像是去捕捉鱼的能力。
Some people say that you can actually release them back into the ocean in, let's say, a circled area. Is that possible for the dolphins in Taiwan?
目前从很多的专家学者提到的意见来说的话，它最主要就是台风的风险，因为台湾就在一个就是多台风的地方，那这些动物它如果被固定在一个范围内，但是这个范围内可以做的保护的措施又不够多，但台风来的时候，那个浪的影响很可能反而会让这些动物变得是很动荡、 受伤。对，因为只要浪的能量进到这个庇护区之中，那没有办法对这些动物做比较好的保护的话，那很有可能它就会在里面不小心的因为浪来了，然后撞击到礁岩还是怎么样的状态下受伤，那可能会是另外的后续的影响。所以台湾目前应该是有想要做评估说有没有地方可以被选做这个庇护区，但是并没有真的是目前还没有真正的发生啦。
As you mentioned, it definitely depends on how long the dolphins have been kept in captivity. But recently, in Yeliu, there was this baby dolphin there being born. What about that dolphin? Can it return to the wild?
这个其实就是很困难的问题，就是小海豚的诞生，特别是它在园区里面诞生，它很可能就是得要在这个园区里面终老，对，因为它没有经历过外界的这个自然环境，所以它要去也放回到自然环境之中的成本或者是训练等等各种可能性是非常低的，然后或者是成本是很高的，所以这件事情是困难的。那它后续很可能就只能够往就是在园区内好好的照养到终老这样子的方向，对。但是因为在人工饲育环境下的新生的这些鲸豚，他们其实到目前来说，因为它野柳的大概也才1岁2岁左右，对，它其实都还不是很稳定的状态，都还是有可能会因为一些疾病病变，然后就突然间的就死亡，也是有可能的。这是很多人为的环境、人工饲育的状态下会发生的事情。
That was Lingdong Liang from Kuroshio Ocean Education Foundation. You can watch the full interview with him on Zoom In, Zoom Out, available on the TaiwanPlus website or YouTube. Northern Japan is facing an unexpected and dangerous visitor. Bears are moving into towns and villages, turning once peaceful neighborhoods into danger zones. Leslie Liao has more.
In 2023, pastry chef Minatoya Keiji was attacked by a bear outside his garage.
The bear knocked me down like this, and I fell on my side. Then it came at my face here, so I blocked it like this with my hands.
Minatoya was one of the lucky ones. He managed to survive. But for over a dozen people this year, that has not been the case. Now, the 68-year-old is calling for more extreme measures.
If people are thinking of them like pets, of course the idea of animal protection is important. But the reality is that people are being attacked. And there are already several who have died. So I think at the very least, when bears come into town, they should be culled.
Bear attacks are becoming more prevalent in this part of Japan. In mid-October, a nursery school had a close encounter with a bear while 40 children were inside. Sato Junko, one of the school's employees, recalls the harrowing encounter.
It looked like it was banging on the door, so I felt a real sense of danger.
Bears have started venturing into areas where people live, a problem that's been growing since 2023. Normally, they stay in the mountains, but stronger bears are pushing weaker ones out, forcing them into human territory. There, they breed near villages and are used to human activity. Once shy and timid, these bears are now more aggressive and are more likely to attack people. The situation is so serious that Japan has deployed soldiers to keep them under control. Stores now have dedicated sections for bear protection equipment. Everything from shields to bear spray is on sale here. Locals say bear sightings are happening almost every day now, and the problem is getting worse. In this part of Japan, humans live alongside nature, but what once was peaceful harmony is slowly becoming a hostile imbalance. Ryan Wu and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, let's head to Germany to explore an exhibition where visitors get to sniff their way through history. I'm Erika Liu. Take care and see you next time.